Baek Hong-Joon was the first for many things. He was one of the first Christians, he led the first worship service in Joseon, and he was the first 조사. And today we'll see how he was as the first ever Korean elder in history. So how did the first 장로님 live out his life? Let's find out today on 기억하자. So Baek Hong-Joon was appointed to be the first ever Korean elder in history. In 1887 at Saemunhan Church, he traveled tirelessly throughout Manchuria, the northern provinces of Joseon, and the Joseon capital city, evangelizing and preaching the gospel. He assisted missionaries Ross, Underwood, and Gale, teaching them the Korean language and Korean history and culture. He also served as their guide in their missionary journeys throughout the country. His ministry bore much fruit. He presented the gospel to hundreds of people using the Korean Bibles and other Christian literature that had been translated into Korean. Christian works like The Pilgrim's Progress were especially popular at the time. Among those who grew in his care were Han Seok-jin, Kim Il-yeon, Yang Jeon-baek, and Kim Jin-gun, who would all play immeasurable roles, not only in the church but in Korean independence from Japanese rule. The Uju Church was growing rapidly. People in the northern provinces were not influenced by Confucianism like the rest of the country. So people were thirsty for knowledge on the meaning of life. And so these northern provinces were fertile ground for the seeds of the gospel to be planted. And Baek Hong-Joon aggressively took advantage of every opportunity to present the gospel. Soon there were over 100 new converts eager to be baptized. Baek Hong-Joon reached out to missionary Underwood requesting that he come up to Uju to baptize these new converts. Now, missionaries were not allowed to travel outside their designated areas, but missionary Underwood was able to travel to Uju by making it a part of his honeymoon. He and his wife were serving as personal bodyguards to the king and queen at the time. So Underwood went up to Uju at Baek Hong-Joon's request to baptize some new converts. Instead of baptizing all 100 of the people that had been gathered there, Baek Hong-Joon went through a series of basic baptism questions with each of those people. 33 out of the 100 answered all the questions correctly. He and missionary Underwood took these 33 people and put them in boats and crossed the Amlok River. Any affiliation with Western religion and philosophy was still outlawed in Joseon. And when they reached the Chinese side, missionary Underwood baptized the 33 people. This incident is famously known as the Jordan River baptism, in reference to the Jordan River in the Bible. So you're probably wondering what makes baptizing 33 people such a big deal? Well, you have to remember it was rare to baptize people in Joseon at the time because it was illegal. So a baptism of this scale was unheard of. News of the Jordan River baptism reached the capital and it was not received well. Travel restrictions got even more strict, worship was banned, and Saemunhan Church was forced to close down. To make matters worse, Baek Hong-Joon was singled out as a traitor to the country. He was arrested and tortured under high treason for sympathizing with Westerners to accomplish illegal means. He was arrested in 1892 and had to endure terrible torture and imprisonment for almost 2 years before passing away in prison in the year 1893. He was the first martyr in Korean church history at the young age of 45. If he had lived 10 more years, he would have witnessed the first of many incredible religious revivals that God had brought upon the people of Joseon. Baek Hong-Joon 장로님 is a clear example to all of us of what a Christian life should look like, whether you're an elder or a layperson, Korean or non-Korean. In the 14 years that he walked with Christ, he translated the New Testament into Korean, preached the gospel to hundreds throughout Joseon, planted churches, trained missionaries, and also raised up new young leaders for the next generation. He poured his life out like a drink offering to God and gave him glory even in death. So let's remember him.